Good morning, America. Thanks for joining us here on the Andy Kirkendall Show, where Andy interviews actors, writers, filmmakers, athletes, musicians, songwriters, and more, and asks them, what do you do and why do you do it? So sit back, grab a cup of coffee, and enjoy the show.
Good morning. Welcome to Morning Moments. Thank you for joining us, whatever platform you're listening this on, and whenever you're listening to it. It's you may be listening to a recording version of it that's not in the morning. So thank you for joining us today. I have a actor, a producer. He's a health coach, and so much more. And I'm sure he'll tell you more about what he's done. Josh Murray, welcome to Morning Moments.
Thank you, Andy. Good to be here.
We have so many mutual friends that's got connected. And as I was going through the list and there's a lot of people that's been on Morning Moments that you've been connected with through the years in your career and your acting and producing. But tell us, Josh, what do you do and why do you do it?
Well, Andy, my mission is inspiring people to soulful adventuring. And why I do that is so that they can experience truth. And the primary way that I'm doing that right now is through acting and filmmaking. Yeah, that's my vehicle. It's my outlet for it. First experience acting was about 15 years ago. About 11 years ago, I started pursuing it professionally. Started getting into producing short films. But several years ago, I embarked on tackling my first feature, which is where the real producing starts kicking in. So I decided to tackle that front and start to learn that process. The project is called Gym Rat, and we're on the home stretch now. So we just started on the final pass on the edit, and we'll be locking the cut of the film here soon.
It really is different than just, getting your script, saying your lines, doing the scene, and then walking out. When you're putting the film together, there's so many moving parts, right?
Yeah, well, it's like, I mean, the transition is like going from being a programmer to being the CEO of a company. There's such a bigger world and so many intricate details outside of what I do as an actor. But it's been a cool experience. It's been a growing experience, learning experience, and it's just another way for me to be more engaged with the process of bringing that story to life, bringing it into fruition, creating the opportunity to tell that story, and then to help drive home the process of delivering that story to an audience, bringing that to a wider audience of people to experience that story. So I really see it as just a compliment to the acting work that I do, to be more engaged in the process of bringing from start to finish that story that I love to tell as an actor so much. I didn't originally have, growing up, any expectation of getting involved in the movie business. My dad was writing screenplays his whole life, so I had been reading those and had an awareness of scripts and the movie business and Hollywood, to some extent through that, an appreciation of movies. I really connected with films growing up a lot. The certain films were very special to me, but it wasn't until I had kind of gone several years down the road of pursuing a technical career that I even had this inkling that I needed to pursue acting, or I had a desire to investigate it. A lot of this I didn't really understand, except in retrospect. But part of that going down this path and finding my way was motivated by figuring out whatever the problems or the searching that was in front of me. When I was just thinking about this today, that when I was a teenager, I got to a really dysfunctional, unhealthy place, with my emotions, with relationships, and even though I had a a belief in God. I had faith. I was a practicing Christian. It wasn't it wasn't really healthy spirituality, and I made a number of resolutions and decisions as a young man that were really destructive in terms of how I viewed the world, how I viewed myself, how I spoke to myself, how I dealt with my feelings, my relationships. And it led me to really disconnecting and really being numb and going through life like very superficial in a lot of ways, and very hardened in a lot of ways. And that led to, I think, a whole chain reaction of dysfunctional things in my life, in terms of physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And it wasn't until years later that I really felt stuck. I really felt just depressed about life, and the sort of the emptiness of life and the meaninglessness of going to work and, doing school, and, you know what I mean? Like having superficial interactions with people. And I think movies was like the one place where I was still like able to open up within my own mind and like really feel alive. And that was, I think, the catalyst that really pulled me into like, I need to be somehow connected to movies more. I need to explore like what this is about, or somehow experience more of that. And that led me to trying acting. And it wasn't until I just kind of instinctively, intuitively started to explore this acting thing that it started to lead me down a path. I didn't realize it, but to lead me down a path to coming to terms with these decisions I had made in the past, that I wasn't ready to really confront, but that God was sort of bringing me in a sort of roundabout way back towards them, this wandering the wilderness, so to speak. And it wasn't until several years going down that road where I really started to come to terms with to grapple with what it means to have a soul, and what's in my heart, and how do I contend with that? How to relate to that? How do I understand that? And that's really where, again, that almost grieving the superficial meaninglessness of a life like that so many people live, just numbly managing their circumstances in a way that keeps them comfortable. I just had a total dissatisfaction with that, even though I wasn't aware of the ways that I had sort of bought into that. But it's so reinforced in our life, in our world, these norms that people fall into these bad patterns that human nature tends to bring us towards, and we see it around us, and it's reinforced so much that we just assume that it's normal, or that's the only way, or very easily can. And through this process of exploring acting, and eventually what that led to me having to take a deeper look inside and be like, what's really going on? Who am I? What's my identity? What's inside of me? That I really started to realize what I was missing, realize how broken I was, and really start to go through the process of being transformed in those ways. And people say there's that saying, your mess is your message. And I think that as you learn what was the gifts maybe the devil was trying to take away from you, or what was the things that were precious to you that were stolen, what was the pain and the suffering that you were experiencing in your life that seemed hopeless or seemed impossible, when you start to come to terms with that, and grapple with that, and to learn the lessons of those trials and those tests, and to be changed by them, then that is your trial by fire. That's your school of hard knocks that leads you to have something to offer to other people. And for me, like I said, the acting was a huge catalyst for me to go on that journey into my soul, and to really come to terms with what was inside of me, and to really learn lessons, because I had a lot of facts in my head. I could quote you all the right answers, but they weren't really powerful because
Yeah.
I didn't truly believe in them. And having those changes come about, and really experiencing them in the depths of my being, like in ways that are difficult to put into words. Those are the things that I seek to convey and to give other people an experience of through this medium of storytelling, so that it can go beyond, like I said, that cognitive, rational, superficial understanding of things, and for it to really become a reality to people through that experience. And I think that the medium of film is a really powerful way for people to cut through, through entertainment, to cut through all of those defenses and all of those rationalizations, and to really feel safe enough to experience the truth. And
Wow.
and to just put a cap on that, when you said about purpose, to bring it back full circle, like, in order to have a purpose, there's always something you need to learn first, and to try to walk out your purpose when you don't know what it is that you have to give, because you haven't learned the lesson for yourself. You're still in the place of finding your purpose. In pursuing that passion, you can. I mean, I think it's really important to be. The sooner that you can realize that you need to have a purpose and you need to find your purpose and your identity, the better. But I think even in pursuing that passion, like, you can sort of backfill it over time to a degree. And it's cool how, like I said, God can weave a story and a pathway threads through this sort of instinctual, blind, fumbling in the dark for direction, and lead you in a roundabout way to finding that purpose.
Well, Josh, I want to thank you for opening the door and sharing your heart. And it's not easy to do sometimes. And thank you for that. As we get ready to close, be sure to check out his movies. He's producing. He's been in. Check out. I've got some websites down below, or you can check him out on IMDb and see the different things that he's done and what he's in production or post production for too, and going in the future as well. As we close today, though, I'd like for you to take the time and pray for Josh. Pray that he would continue to be where he needs to be in his career, in his life, and everything he does. You see, Josh needs your prayers, folks, and you need the practice. So take some time as soon as this is over and lift him up in your prayers, if you would, please. Josh, thank you for sharing with us today in Morning Moments.
It was my pleasure, Matt.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Pass this interview on. Keep coming back, and may God richly bless you.